All right. Count us down in three, two, one. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb's also a pilot, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday, and if you can't listen to the entire show, remember it's always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or go ahead and look for Barb on most of the popular podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, others like that. Every week, Your Real Estate Voice covers great information about the housing market and one of your largest assets, your home. Barb, what are we talking about today?
Well, the first topic is that considering your home as an asset. It's actually investing in real estate is probably the fastest way to build wealth in general. I mean, you see most of the wealthy people have real estate as part of their investment portfolio. For some people, they're living in their investment. You know, it's their home. Now, there's arguments about that. Some people say, well, you know, if you live in the home, it's not really an investment, but it does go up in value over time. So we're going to talk about some ways to build wealth using the equity and some other ideas in real estate, the first segment, and kind of what's going on in the market and how you can really leverage the equity that you have. And then the second topic is for buyers. So what I'm seeing and what I have seen over the last probably 4 months is that a lot of buyers are sitting on the sideline, kind of hoping that the rates come down, kind of hoping that the prices will come down. And it's happened a little bit, but not enough for them to come out in force and grab homes. So we're going to talk about when's the best time to buy a house in Colorado. And then the third topic is one of my favorite ones is inspection. So I talk about inspections all the time because it's probably the source of most of my cat fights with other real estate agents, cats and dogs, whatever. It, it's insane what goes on over inspection issues. And we're going to talk about some key things to help home sellers sort of prepare for that so they know in advance, okay, if I'm going to sell my house, I have to get ready for these things. And then the very last topic is one of my favorite topics is about cash offers. So we're unique in that we have a proprietary cash offer platform where we actually show up and meet our sellers and we have a fistful of cash offers on their house. And that is unique. Nobody else is doing that. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of whether or not a cash offer would be right for a seller or not. And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
Now, Barb, the real estate market has had some recent turmoil, but people are still buying and selling homes. Many people buy real estate as an investment and not just as a place to live. What is the fastest way to build wealth in real estate right now in Colorado?
Well, I did a little research on this, Richard, and actually the housing market in general in the US is worth almost $48 trillion. I mean, just I can't imagine what 1 trillion actually is, but it's a lot of money. And in the last year or so, real estate's gone up a couple of $1 trillion in value. So even though we'll see slight fluctuations in the market values right now, overall, over the long term, real estate goes up. I can look at graphs going all the way back to 1985, and it pretty much looks like a straight up with a few little blips here and there. So I wouldn't worry too much. Over time, real estate does go up in value, and it's a good investment. And typically, people have more net worth if they do either buy and hold real estate, or sometimes they might make some money flipping, although that's not it's probably not as good as hanging on to it over time. I've talked to so many people that bought homes when they found a good deal. And looking back on it, it just seemed like an average deal to them. But because they held on to it for a long time, a lot of them will say, I wish I could have bought 5 more of those because it did so well for me. So what we've seen just in the market stats more recently is that the prices have dropped a bit while the inventory number of available homes has stayed high. We're seeing the average price drop down below actually what it was at the beginning of the year. But don't let that bother you. Real estate's very local. It's so local. It's about the neighborhood. It could be 2 homes in a neighborhood that one might be worth more than another for various reasons. So I wouldn't let that worry you at all. The people that get into trouble with real estate is if they treat it like a short-term investment, because it really is not a good short-term investment unless you buy it super low. Like if you walk in the door with equity, you're in pretty good shape. And actually, people that bought homes before around 2019, they're sitting on some pretty good equity. I know we had the meltdown in 2008, but after 2011, kind of when it bottomed out after that mess, ever since that time, the values over the long term have gone up substantially. So the people that keep the asset, take the equity out, they do pretty well. And right now is a great time for somebody to buy a piece of real estate simply because the volume of sales has gone down as compared to a year ago, even though the rates are pretty similar to what they were a year ago and the inventory is higher. So supply and demand, we got more available homes and fewer buyers. So if you have fewer sales, the average days on market's taking longer, and sellers that want to sell right now, if they don't price it realistically, they could be sitting on it waiting months and months for it to sell. And I did some research actually right now to buy an average price home of around 400,000. Their annual household income needs to be over 110,000. That's a lot of money, actually. It's probably more than what people in general make. And there are some sellers that are pulling their house off the market right now, mostly because they're sitting on really, really low interest rates. So it doesn't cost them that much to sit on the property. So a lot of people are saying, oh, I'll wait till the spring, because in the spring, we do see the prices go a little bit higher. And that's mostly because, again, of supply and demand. Fewer homes are on the market, but there's more buyers out because a lot of people are trying to get ahead of the summer move. So those people are just sitting on their lower rates. Their payments aren't that bad and kind of reconsidering, should I keep it? Should I sell it? All that. But we haven't seen a whole lot of changes in inventory or in pending contracts. And rates, believe it or not, Richard, the rates just a couple of weeks ago when the Fed said, hey, I'm going to knock down the federal rate a 0.5 point, what happened was the mortgage rates went up from there almost a 0.5 point. So they don't necessarily align with each other. I would not wait to the Fed meeting. What we're seeing in interest rates right now, a 30-year fix is probably just over 6.5 as of the time of the show. It was at 6.64%. 30-year VA was just above 6%. Now, there are a lot of lenders. In fact, the lender that we recommend offers a 1% buy down on your rate. So there's those deals out there. That's why I just wouldn't wait to buy, because it's very easy down the road to refinance at very little cost. And you're in already. You've already got the home, the right home at the right price. And so if we see interest rates drop down, over the next couple of Fed meetings, and they drop down where homes are more if they drop down where homes are more affordable for buyers, buyers might be competing with other buyers. And nobody liked that. No buyer liked that in 2022. They were not only competing with other buyers, they were competing with institutional buyers that were coming in with cash, paying way over asking. I mean, it was tough to be a live in the home buyer during that time. So people don't really like competition because they have to put their best foot forward and sometimes come up with more cash than they had planned on it. And I just sold a home just a month ago where the buyer had purchased a home right at the top of the market in 2022. It was a remodeled home. He got in a bidding war, so he paid $565 for it and sold it for $538. So that hurts when you have to turn a piece of real estate that quickly. As always, it's perfect if you actually get the 4 P's right: preparation, picking the right agent, pricing it right, and making sure it's promoted properly. If you do that, the chances of you doing well with your real estate sale or investment are very good. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. I'm Barb Schlinker, the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of the show. And we're talking about, why wait or not wait to buy a home. And when we come back, we're just going to touch on some things that you can do to build wealth in real estate. Richard?
Barb, we're talking about the current real estate market and how people can be prepared if they want to buy or sell. So, what should home sellers expect and do in a market situation like this one?
Well, when rates are dropping, okay, prices tend to go up. So, one thing that a lot of buyers don't know is that even if they buy with a little bit higher interest rate, they're not locked into it. If they get an FHA or a VA loan, they can refinance at no cost, no income verification, no appraisal. They just basically lower their payment. That's what they do, and all they have to do is maintain their credit score. So I would not wait around if you can afford a home. There's more homes on the market right now. The prices are coming down just a little bit. So if you find the right deal, definitely jump on it, because you could refinance in as little as 6 months and get your payment down very quickly. Real estate's very local. Excuse me. Every home every home is different. Every home has something unique about it, right? There are differences by neighborhood, by home style, by age, by zip code, by school district, all these different things. You're better off when you go on the market to make sure it's priced very, very realistically. That's actually how you get the most money when you sell. I just helped a home seller do it last week, where we initially talked about a higher price, but then we looked at the market before we went on the market. And they decided, okay, yeah, we should price it very realistically. And when they did that, that home sold in one day, and we got a contract for over asking price. And they never had to do a single showing. And the buyer didn't do an inspection, and the buyer's paying cash. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So it's all about being the best home in the neighborhood in order to get top dollar. And we know how to help people do that. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of oops, hold on. I always do that. There's a double pump there, and I keep forgetting it. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about when is the best time to buy a house in Colorado. Stay tuned for that. I forgot to start my clock on time. So we were close or something? All right.
Yeah, I stopped a few times, so we're about 13.
Well, and yeah, I think by now I'd be smart enough to not do it, but apparently I'm not that smart. Okay. I'm sorry, Barb, I had my headphones off.
No worries.
How are you thinking about the election? Dave's doing something, so we got some time to talk for a second.
Uh, I just feel like I'm just praying for the president, for President Trump, that
You
he's
know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
that he's protected. I mean, Kamala is just self-destructing. She's an idiot. She's getting dumber by the minute.
I mean, at first I thought, well, gosh dang, how bad can she be if they're, so afraid to have her, do a live event? And then every time I see her that is like something close to live, I'm like, wow, she's actually pretty dang dumb. Um,
I think, she's just not capable of standing on her own 2 feet without a teleprompter. And I don't know how she got this. It's
yeah,
amazing to me.
yeah. If ever you wanted proof that she was a diversity hire, it's that she can't do this. My God, how could you not do this? But I shouldn't be complaining. I mean, if they had a really good candidate, maybe we'd be in trouble. I mean, it's close even with somebody like her, but it's all the race thing and the hate Trump thing and all of that. Well, I don't know how I managed to do that, but I did.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, me too. You know what? Do you know how to get to Cumulus, like email and stuff? If you I always leave the tab open. I've never had this happen because I always leave the tab open.
Office 365.
Okay. Just
Use your email and your password.
Okay.
So log in. And then look up the Outlook link.
All right. Office what now?
365. Log in.
Oh, I think it remembered me.
It happens once in a while, but
It's just weird that, I after all this time, because I always just leave it up. It goes into hibernation. Nobody can get onto it unless they have got my code.
yeah,
And
the web-based version that's how I get on from home and stuff.
oh, I should start doing that because, well, because you know what?
You should unplug.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I know. I always worry there's that one email that I somehow, left here before I saw it or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, how did that
You think they're
happen?
gonna fire you over not finding an email during off hours? Last I checked, that was illegal.
And to his credit, they have never, you know what, in all the time here, they have never said how great the ratings were or how much the ratings suck. Nothing in between. Nothing like, oh man, we're really struggling, or holy cow, we're kicking ass like
Can
crazy.
we focus more on this? Can
Yeah,
we focus
yeah.
more on that?
And the closest it's come is, Ryan says stuff every now and then, like, a lot of this station is depending on you and you're doing everything that we need. That's the closest ever to anything that, oh shoot, I almost forgot about time sheets.
Oh, yeah, that's due at the end of the day tomorrow,
Okay.
no later. Um,
Hmm.
tomorrow,
It's funny. Sometimes it's like one day, and then other times it's like 3 or 4 days. There's no rhyme or reason, as far
ever
as I
since
can tell.
Bobby took over, it's been
Short.
but it's actually the day after the end of the pay period.
So when did he take over? Because I thought that was half the point of having Ryan. Oh yeah, okay. What was I thinking? Right? What the hell was I thinking?
Ultimately, it's Bobby who pushes everything.
There used to be a guy here a long time ago, had an office back down that way. And I wish he was here when Brenda was here. I wish I could remember the guy's name. He was supposed, I think he kind of had like what Bobby's job was or whatever. I don't remember ever seeing him do anything or talk to me or anything. And then, no, not Kent. He was sales. I wish I could remember this guy's name.
And in Leatherwood? I'm trying to think who had offices back this way.
I don't even know if I'd remember his name. My point though was forever, I don't remember him doing anything. And then all of a sudden
was the IT guy. And he got himself into all kinds of trouble because of cocaine.
and then we had some guy get fired because he went into Annette Geisler's purse and stole a couple $100 while we were doing a meeting. Radio. It's not exactly how you think it is, folks. Yes.
She's been.
All right. Hey, Barb, I'm good here.
Okay.
Mm. All right. This time I'll remember to start my clock. Yeah. All right. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the host of the program. And this is the weekly radio show that informs and it educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, some buyers are sitting on the sidelines. They're waiting for prices and interest rates to come down. So, Barb, when is the best time to buy a home in Colorado? And what are the costs of waiting for prices to come down?
Well, thanks, Richard. Actually, a lot of people think that, okay, I'm just going to wait for the market to drop like an elevator. And if they knew the actual statistics, that there might be a few hiccups in the real estate market here and there. But I mean, look at the stock market in the past year. Nobody thought it would be roaring like it is, right? It's the same thing with real estate. And the problem is rents are just as expensive now. That money, you're paying your landlord's bill. You're not paying towards your own investment. And real estate is a long-term investment. It's not something you can treat as a money machine, at least not in the short term. But over the long term, it's a great way to build wealth, simply because we all have to live somewhere. Why not be paying off the place that we live in? And then at some point down the road, either we sell or take the equity out. We can use that resource to either build wealth and buy another piece of real estate, or sell it and move to wherever you want to be. And then you're in a better financial position going down the road. And here's some interesting facts about the market that a lot of people may not know. Almost 1/3 of the homes that are sold these days never hit the open market. So a lot of people assume the homes that are available for sale, they must all be on Zillow or Realtor.com or wherever the multiple listing services. And that's just not true. We're seeing a 10-year high in inventory. And actually, some of the best deals on the market actually never show up on those lists. And we actually have sold some of our properties before they ever hit the market. And we do that on a regular basis because we already have buyers that are looking. They've already told us what they're looking for. And we match up these houses and these sellers that want to sell to the buyers that want to buy. And it's great. They don't have to deal with all these strangers coming through your house and all that stuff. So I did a little bit of research also just on Google to find out what Google said about real estate investing. And they basically said the best time to buy is when the inventory is high and there's less competition. Well, that is right now. We had at least a 30% increase in inventory since May, and there's fewer buyers to compete with. Actually, there are fewer sales going on right now this time of year and in total for the year as compared to last year. And the winter time is traditionally the cheapest time to get a house. It's when sellers are more willing to negotiate, and you're more likely to get the best deal during that time. This is also a really, really great place to invest in real estate because, as you can see all around us just from driving around, why do you think they're building all those apartments? They don't have enough housing. So there's steady growth, there's strong demand, and the appreciation, meaning the value of the home over time, will go up. And people know if they're renting, rents are going up as well. So buying a home, it's a big commitment. A lot of people, if they're getting financing, they don't like the forensic search that happens into their financial background. A lot of people have all these fears about, oh my God, they're going to find out I was late on my cable bill or something. And so a lot of people really don't know what hurts their credit and what doesn't hurt their credit. Like if you're 2 weeks late on a mortgage, as long as you haven't gone 30 days late, it's not going to hurt your score. But, if you go more than 30, okay, yes, that's going to take you out from buying a home for a year or two. But for buyers, a lot of people, a lot of real estate agents kind of treat it like just another day, okay, just another sale. And it is the transaction. Most people don't buy homes very often, right? It's very, very important to them. It's very important to them to get it right. And the buyer's biggest fear is missing out on the best buys. So buyers really need to know how to get access to homes that represent the best buys. And they also need to know what they can afford. So that's something that people love looking at homes. I will say that. I remember when I was a kid, I used to love to go through the model homes in my neighborhood and just look at them. But at the end of the day, if they can't afford the home, there's no point in looking at it. I know the parade of homes goes on every summer and people love going and seeing all the decorating ideas. But at the end of the day, are they going to be spending 2 to 3 million on a house? Probably not, right? So they need to know what they can afford. So it doesn't make sense to look at homes that they can't afford. Although a lot of buyers are really uneducated about the process. So it's very natural to see something and think they can afford it, want to go look at it, and then find out if they can afford it. And that presents a lot of problems. So we try to educate our buyers up front about the process and how they can get ready. That way, when they're going inside these homes, they have the confidence of knowing that they could make an offer and be able to be successful in the end. Because nothing's more disappointing for a buyer than, going under contract for a home and then find out later after they spent money on inspection and appraisal that, oh, sorry, you don't qualify for one reason or another. So it's always good to get that pre-approval done up front. And I think it might cost under $100. That's just the cost of pulling a credit report. And then the lender does all the rest of the work. And getting the best financing is really, really important. I was showing one of my listings a couple of weeks ago, and the father was interested in the house, and he came with his adult son and his wife, and they were talking about how they had just bought a home that spring, and their interest rate was 7.4%. Well, it sounds pretty high and good for them for qualifying for that rate. But what they may not know is in 6 months, they could refinance it at very little cost and be able to get that rate down. So as long as there's a difference to what you have in a mortgage and what you're getting of about 1%, you're probably in good shape to refinance. But having that pre-qualification actually gives you the confidence, the big stick to go in and negotiate from a position of strength. And you can get started. We have some great lenders that will get you pre-approved in a matter of minutes. You can call us at the office, 719-301-3900. And then we have some great buyer's agents that really know what they're doing to get you to the right people so that this goes well. nothing worse than having something go sideways in a real estate transaction. I'll tell you a couple stories on that shortly. But what we do for our buyers is we basically give them insider access that are of homes that are not available online. These are people that reached out to us saying, hey, we want to sell our home. We want to sell it fast. Come talk to us. And they may not want to do the traditional, show the home type process. Also, we can get 1% off their mortgage rate for them. And that represents some of the best financing. And they have certainty that they're not going to miss out in the best deals. I just had that happen on one of my listings. It wasn't my buyer, it was some other agent's buyer from some other area. And what was interesting about this house is that it had been on the market before I got the listing for 120 days. Very nice home. But the marketing was awful. The pictures were awful. He didn't highlight the best features of the home, that it backed to open space. It had a beautiful covered patio. So when I took over the listing, I said, hey, you got a marketing problem and maybe a teeny bit on pricing. So we did a little price adjustment, got the marketing right. We had 40 people attend the open house. And on day 9, it went under contract. And right before it went under contract, I reached out to everybody that had shown it saying, hey, do you have any interest? Because we do have an offer that could work here. No response. Right after that, that agent scheduled the showing. They went out to look at it, and it went under contract like within a few hours of all this happening. And he called and said, hey, my buyer wants to make an offer. And I said, I'm sorry, it just went under contract. And he's like, whoa, we feel like we got the rug pulled. And I'm like, wait a minute, this thing has been on the market for now 120 days. Where have you been? So the buyer's texting me at 3 in the morning complaining that I did a bad service to my client. And I'm like, no, I did not. I reached out to everybody I knew about, but I didn't know about you. I can't read your mind. I said, why didn't you come look at it before, or even the open house the weekend before, or any time in those 9 days that I had it, or the 120 days the other agent had it? Oh, well, I had a house to sell and I wasn't going to do that until I got a contract. So, I mean, it's amazing how people get mad at me because they were late to the party, but they had all this opportunity to get the house. And I think part of the problem is a lot of these agents only give buyers access to properties that they already have access to. They don't know how to coach them to get them to the finish line. Let me give you another example. I met with some very, very experienced agents that do a lot of corporate sales for banks, bank-owned listings and stuff like that. And they were discussing this new change with the commission about the commission not being advertised and how are they going to show their buyers they have value. And the only thing they could come up with, even though I was trying to give them clues, was, okay, well, if they sign an agreement, they're going to pay me so much, they have to pay me. That was their value. I'm like, no. Buyers don't want to stroke a check for a buyer's agent services if all you have to offer is use signs at papers. It just doesn't make sense. So it's too bad. The industry is very weak in training agents on how to deliver value and how to give some things that the buyers can kind of sink their teeth into, to feel like when they've made this one of their largest investments in their lives, they've made the right decision. And Richard, 40% of Americans don't have a will, but they've said that if they bought a home, they would consider getting one. Did you know that?
I did not know that. The number actually doesn't surprise me because when I talk to friends and relatives, they don't. But as soon as you put a huge investment, it's the biggest investment of somebody's life, as you always mention, that means it really is that important.
Yeah. So if you are thinking of making a move and you'd like to become a VIP buyer, we actually give our VIP buyers insider access to homes, not online. We're not just, pointing you to Zillow and saying, hey, if you like it, give me a call. I'll get you in the door. We do way more than that. Just call us 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, buying or selling, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb, what are some other things that home buyers should consider to find the best homes for sale here in Colorado?
Well, it's picking the right agent's pretty important. I had an agent recently that brought an offer on one of my listings, and it was really lowball. And he was trying to educate me on how he thought it wasn't worth the asking price. And he was such a master negotiator, the buyer didn't get the house. And it's like, okay, I think they lose sight of the goal. So make sure, I think the most important thing is align yourself with an agent that really cares, is trying to get you what you want, right? Some agents think they justify their job by getting you a discount or getting you stuff. And that's actually not the goal, right? The goal is to make sure that the overriding goal is to get you to be an owner of a piece of real estate that goes up in value. Yeah, you might pay a little bit more if you have competition, or a little bit more if you have negotiations with the seller, but are they getting you the house, or are they just beating up on the seller and the listing agent to the point where they get nothing? And I think that's crazy. And I think a lot of agents do that, even more so now than ever. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, just call Barb at 719-301-3900. Or as always, visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about, should a home seller be present for the buyer's home inspection? You want to know that? Stay tuned. Or are they going to eat pizza? Or run your water dry and put sand into your I have to tell
Or
you,
have an inspector hop in with your daughter, be the only one home.
I just
Oh, I forgot
some
about
of
that.
these things are like, it's like a highlight reel or something. I
Like,
never
what?
get tired.
That one, DJ.
Never ever get tired.
That was horrible. It's probably why I don't have very many agents. They all think I hate them. But if you made the list, you know, maybe you'll learn something from it. I don't know.
Richard had to step out for a minute.
That's fine. I forgot about the Home Alone with the daughter. God.
Struck a chord with me. One time, my daughter was 16 and she was homesick.
Mhm.
And I had a guy coming over to mow the lawn. He was supposed to aerate and do a bunch of stuff, really. But he was saying, "Oh, I'll just go up to the door and grab the check," and I was like, "No, I'll just Venmo you. It's okay."
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of an awkward thing. It's like, okay, this guy's coming to the door and you're home alone. I had that happen the other day. We've got some concrete work going on in our house, and he had been working all day, and then I think he wanted to, you know, sort of look at what I did kind of thing. He did a nice job, but he's this big, strapping, scary looking guy. And Mark, my husband, had left and he rang the doorbell. I'm like, okay, I'll go answer the door. And I don't know what his purpose was other than, okay, I'm done. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. I didn't know what to do. He did nice work, but I think he was just proud of his work. But still, it crossed my mind that just answering the door is a level of vulnerability.
And if ever, ever, ever there was a time when I don't think you just take chances, and certainly with your kids, but
Yeah.
I don't take chances with anybody. I mean, I see somebody out there, unless I know who they are. Well, you probably saw this, Bar, all this hoopla about Venezuelan gangs up in Denver and Aurora.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
there were several times when you had somebody show up at the door. They had an orange vest on. They rang the doorbell. They were holding a package. It looked like they were there to deliver it. Ma'am, I've got a package for you. And they open the door and they go bursting in. I
Yeah,
can't be too
it's
careful.
scary.
Yeah.
I bought some Berna guns.
Oh, how's that going?
Well, I just didn't know how to work it. So I took it with me because I was going out on this area that I was a little uncomfortable going on that appointment.
Right.
So before I had a babysitter showing before that. So I'm in my car trying to figure out how to work it. I couldn't figure out how to change the magazine.
Right.
I just packed it back up.
Do you have the orange one or the black one?
I had the orange one.
Because I've been tempted to get one for my daughter. I've got a friend who's got one. And I really think between now and the election, people should have something. And, I recommend having a firearm, but there are going to be some people who just are not going to have a firearm. So you have to have a Byrna or, mace or something like that. And I think I said this before, both of my kids owned firearms. Jason's got a 9mm, Jenna's got a 380 semi-auto. But when they left home, they didn't take them with them. And for me to try to persuade them that, you know what, you don't know what's going to happen in Omaha. There's no way. There's just no, I don't know what's wrong, but it's a big step for people to have a firearm, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, just the idea of, okay, I could stop them and not kill them, is kind of good.
Yeah. Well, and you know what, my thing is, anything's better than nothing, because there was a time when most people were very cocky about a 22. Oh, don't get a 22. You have to get, at least this. And I was talking about, because we're telling people how to get prepared in case something goes down. And I said something along those lines. I said, a 22 is nice because it doesn't take much room for the ammo and blah, blah, blah. And I said, you can use it for hunting if you need to. And I said, it's not all that great. I don't think it'd kill somebody. I had like 4 people texting and go, it'll kill somebody.
Yeah, well,
You can't just shoot them in the leg and expect them to die. You shoot them, a bunch of times and eventually they die. Your whole key is you want them to die like right now. But a shot in the head usually will do it.
yeah.
These are interesting topics. So, Barb, when it comes to your home, you can sell or you can buy, or you can make a fortress out of your home.
We're starting to do that. We're
I am
doing arms, we've got guns. I mean,
Do they come with the turret?
I don't have a dog right now. I wish I had a dog. Want a dog.
dog, that actually, I've got a dog. Shih Tzus are not all that intimidating, however.
No.
This
Well,
one.
my son, he's like, that's not security. He said they just kill the dog.
Yeah. Yep.
But they will tell you. They know what's going on before
And
you.
exactly. You know what? I mean, You can have all of these things if you want, but ring and all that different stuff. Dog is pretty damn reliable. All right. I got another one here to go.
Okay.
Count this down in 3, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the host and the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, I think a majority of people selling their home expect that the buyers will purchase it as is and without any repairs. But we've talked before, and the reality is most buyers do an inspection, and sometimes it goes well. Other times it can be very frustrating for the home seller. You've had some experiences. Should home sellers attend the buyer's inspection?
I tell them to, and I think even though it's uncustomary for some real estate agents that the seller is home during the inspection. And I think the reason is they want to be able to talk about the house and talk openly about its flaws and all that while they're in the home. However, in the state of Colorado, inspectors don't have to have, there is no licensing. There's absolutely no government oversight on that trade. In fact, there's very little government oversight in what real estate agents do. There's no job description. There's no who does what. There's only follow these rules and fill out these forms. That's about it. It's not very in-depth. So it gets very frustrating when you're working with somebody who's, quote, representing the buyer. And a lot of times these agents will tell me, well, can't you just give out the combo and let my inspector in for 3 hours going over all the systems? And I'm like, no, he's not licensed. It invalidates my insurance for somebody to not be there besides him. And, how do I know he doesn't break something? I've had inspectors break things a lot, let me tell you. And of course, it wasn't their fault when you draw it to their attention on a very much a regular basis. So I think it's a very good idea to keep an eye on what they're doing. And I've actually had both agents and inspectors tell the sellers to leave their own home during the inspection. So I have to kind of let my clients know in advance, don't be surprised at this behavior, because there is no job description for real estate. There is no licensing for inspectors. So you never know what you're going to get. And they're usually pretty shocked when I say, so how would you feel if somebody came over and said, okay, you can leave your own home now? Most of them are like, no way. How would you feel, Richard, if somebody said that to you?
Absolutely zero chance of that happening. And I don't care if I've got children in the house or there's nobody in the house. You don't get free reign over my house.
No, and that's what they want. And because there's no description, because there's no standardization in the industry, if agents have done inspections before where it happened to be that the seller wasn't home, they think that's how the world is supposed to work. And so they automatically assume that's how it's supposed to go. Why is your seller here? I actually have one agent have an absolute hissy fit meltdown and tell me on the phone she's going to tell her buyers to terminate because we were representing the seller at that inspection. And I'm like, okay, well, the reason we're doing that is that the seller, he was out of state at the time, knows more about the home and its systems than anybody, especially since he built the house. So
Wow.
if you have questions, we could share it with your inspector. And she went outside, arms are in the air, flopping on the floor, and her buyer just kind of rolled his eyes at her like, you're an idiot, and came back in and apologized to us. But that's the kind of behavior I run across all the time. And it's just simply ignorance, I think, about how things actually work. One thing on the condition of homes, and I'm just going to make this kind of as a public service announcement, Richard, because this time of year is when I start having panic attacks, because there's usually very little warning when the weather changes. So if you're sitting on an empty house right now, It's going to get cold. It's already starting to get cold going into the end of October. We never know when the temperatures are going to drop low enough where you could compromise your plumbing if you don't turn your heat on. So make sure if you have a vacant home that you go and turn the heat on. You can set it really, really low, like 55 or 60 degrees. That's enough to protect the plumbing in case you have a deep freeze, because it could happen. I've had it happen to people before, and I think it's a very expensive thing if you have plumbing break, because it's drywall and it makes a big mess. Have you ever heard of that happening, Richard?
No, I haven't. Well, actually, we spoke about it one time, but other than that, I hadn't. But that's why listening to you every weekend is so important. You cover so many things, and it's always the very latest information.
Yeah, and that kind of thing. It's just, I have a few homes that are presented to the market empty, and I start thinking about it, going, oh, it's going to get cold. Oh my God, is the heat on? We got to go check, because I'm terrified of something going wrong with the plumbing. And here's the thing. Most buyers, when they do their inspection, they're going to do at least one. Sometimes they come back for round two. They're basically going to fully inspect the home. Their agents are encouraging them to test for radon. They're encouraging them to do a sewer scope. They're bringing in a quote unlicensed inspector to judge your home, tell you whether or not the roof is in good condition. They do all kinds of things to ask for stuff. And that's the way some agents kind of justify their job. Hey, look, I got you this, or I got you that. And this is where the fights come in. But I've had a lot of problems happen during inspections, like asking my seller to leave, walk in the house without even knocking, track snow in the home, open the door, let the inspector in, and leave. One time, I had a seller that was both working, and they had a teenage daughter at home, and I told them, I told the agent, you need to be there with your inspector. Oh, don't worry. Because I told her there's going to be a teenage daughter home alone. Don't worry, we'll be there for the kiddo. Did she go? No. She skipped out on, she actually went and opened the lockbox and left and went to a closing. And when I confronted her with it, she goes, oh, well, I forgot. I had a closing. She didn't think there was any problem. But fortunately, I just suspected her. I knew there was my spidey sense that told me, I don't trust this girl. I don't think she's going to do the right thing. And so I had one of my team members go check on it. My team member got there at the moment the inspection was supposed to start. And there it was, both inspectors, these two guys in the house. Electronic lockbox was wide open and the agent was nowhere to be found. It's a big deal. And, it's just that kind of stuff should not be happening. So we really have to do everybody's job to get it to the finish line, because I never know. I had one, this is a pretty famous story, where the buyer agent did show up with the inspector, but then she also ordered pizza. And I didn't know that until I get a call from the seller, because on their Ring doorbell, they call me in a panic going, what in the heck are they doing? Are they going to squat in the house? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, why is the pizza delivery at my door on my Ring doorbell? And it wasn't one pizza. It was 4 pizzas and a bag of wings. So I could see why they're wondering if they're going to move in or not. So you have to really watch what these people are doing. I've had them red tag furnaces, a brand new furnace, only because the inspector's gadget was wrong. I've had them say that the well ran dry. They actually ran the tank of the well dry by running the water for 4.5 hours. Now the sellers were home during this, and I get this text from the seller going, how come there's sand in my sink? And I'm like, oh my God. I knew right away they sucked sand up through the well pump because they ran the water too long. Most wells aren't designed to run every single faucet in the house for 4 hours. Water test. Oh, those are exciting. So the unlicensed inspector, I just had this happen again, where they don't know how to properly run a water contamination test on a well. So they contaminate the sample, or they take it on a Friday. So they go down and get these samples from the county. And the county won't take samples on Friday because you have to take the sample properly, make sure you sanitize the site, take the screen out, run the water for a while. He didn't do it properly. And then because they don't take samples on Friday, he let the samples sit in his truck over the weekend or longer. Then when they did run the test, it said, oh, it's positive for chloroform bacteria. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't believe it. We have a professional water testing company. She went and properly ran the test and it turned out clean. So these guys just don't know what they're doing, but this is how they justify their job and give the buyer's agent, quote, negotiation room. So you can prepare by in a lot of ways by doing this. Something I just learned about just the other night at a homeowners meeting is if you're on a lot with trees, I guess it's going into law on December 1st, Richard, that people that have heavily treed lots, if you don't get your house certified for fire mitigation, it will have to be done as part of the sales process. Did you know about this?
No, and I got to tell you what, I keep a close eye. I used to cover fires all the time, probably about 4 years, all of the major fires, Hayman, whatever. And I had no idea about this. I'm pretty sure it's under the radar for the average person, which again is why the average person ought to be talking to you or at least listening to you.
Anyways, it's going to be mandatory here in about a month. So that kind of stuff you need to know about, plan ahead because all these things take time. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the real estate broker for Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyer's team and the host of this show, Real Estate Voice. We're talking about inspection problems and whether or not a seller should be in his own home during the inspection, or if you can't be there, we can represent you and be there. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some more inspection excitement for home sellers and how you can actually plan ahead to get it right. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program, and we're talking about home inspection problems that home sellers do face. Barb, what are some of the other tips for our listeners that they should know about?
Okay, so the typical things that the buyer is looking for is essentially broken stuff, right? And probably all the systems are working fairly well, but they're looking for things that are not obvious, like the roof. A lot of people have hail damaged roofs. The septic or sewer line. Sometimes they don't know there's any problem, especially sewer lines, because most people tell me, I never checked out the sewer line because it never backed up. I never had any problems. Septic. Having to repair a septic system that has failed takes months and months. So water checks are a good thing to do. Having the furnace cleaned and serviced, but septic and sewer and roof and water, I would definitely get ahead of those and check those out in advance because the septic system alone, I've been through probably 3 or 4 just in the past couple of months where the seller spent literally 90 days from the time they found out to the time they got a bid to the time they got a permit to get it, just to get a bid. That was to the bid point, and then the work is done after that. So one of the things that we offered is we help our home sellers offer what's called a certified pre-owned home, where we actually do a pre-inspection. We get you ready for these things so there aren't any surprises when the buyer comes along and they start asking for stuff. The worst time to find out you have one of these major problems you have to repair is when you're trying to move, because it could delay the closing process, it could delay the sales process, and it could limit your ability to negotiate for some of these more expensive repairs if you don't know in advance. And we actually include a home warranty with our certified pre-owned home program that covers all the systems for the seller during the process. So if you'd like to find out about that and you're thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice. She's with Your Real Estate. Here we go. You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice. She is with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of selling your home, you want to get the most amount of money, then you need to call Barb at 719-301-3900 or simply visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about what makes a cash offer better on a house for sales. on a house for sellers, plus Barb's hot new listings, right? Yeah.
That's right. Okay. I totally forgot about that one, DJ. Home Alone. God. Scumbags. I'm embroiled in a cat fight right now with an agent. Stand up. At all? Is your house coming?
Now he's like, I think we need you for, you know, we should take the floor, take the carpet off, and the new floor.
On a rental?
Yeah, he just, he has to do something for it, he has, always has to be busy, he's not doing anything at all, he's just sit, watching TV, and he's gotta be moving, doing something. all the time. I'm like, okay, go ahead.
Keep them busy. All right.
She back from, Vegas?
I thought she got back Sunday, but I'm not sure. I haven't heard from her at all.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Figured she'd be here today, but
Yeah. So she's like a little me too, all over.
it is. It's fun. Very busy girl.
Yeah, the radio show?
No, I got one more segment.
Oh, nice.
Getting there.
I need to go to Cali, when I go to Cali tomorrow, I'm taking a picture for Danielle, she called. Glacier doesn't know when they'll be able to get out there to do the whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah, so she said, if you can just take a picture when you're out there.
you know how to do it?
I'm just gonna take a picture of the gates, I open the thing and so I didn't do it,
Yeah,
so.
it just pulls open. I've opened it before.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that done and send it to her tomorrow. It's like-
Wear your boots or jeans or something, because it's kind of
Yeah.
a lot of tall grass in there.
Mhm.
I don't like going in there.
I know.
Okay.
Yep, I am.
Mhm.
And here we are. Count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to your real estate voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, your real estate authority and the owner of your home sold Realty. Barb, With the real estate market cooling off some, many home sellers don't want to wait months to sell their homes or worry about their contracts failing for a lot of different reasons. What are the benefits of accepting a cash offer on their home?
Well, I think it delivers certainty for the sellers that they know they're gonna, get to the finish line. I'm pretty sure it's an automatic assumption with most home sellers that, okay, if I put my house on the market, it's gonna sell, right? And actually, a lot of them are not selling, or they're taking a lot more time. I think the last most recent statistic indicates the average days on market for the sellers that are getting contracts. That's not everybody, just the ones that are getting the contracts is 83 days. That's pushing, it's pushing 3 months. We're starting to wade into buyer's market territory right now. And over 60% of home sellers are reducing their prices. We have seen the prices correct a good for 3 to 5% since the beginning of the year. And you know what? I think a lot of that has to do with if you look back at different times of the year and you see, oh, well, here's a similar home that sold, so therefore yours should sell for that much. It just doesn't work that well. We don't have the demand. So what's happening is a lot of home sellers are getting bad advice about where they should position the home price wise. Then it doesn't sell, and then they've got a problem because now the timing is they're even more motivated. And even though the rates have come down since the beginning of the year, probably about 1%, a little less than 1% at this point, it wasn't enough to make the buyers come out like crazy, right? So only when they see a really good bargain do you see the buyers suddenly appear again. But in most cases, they're not, right? So a lot of buyers are thinking, well, I'll wait for the prices to come down or for the rates to come down so it's more affordable. And I personally think that's kind of short-term thinking because you can always refinance for a lower rate. You can even buy the rate down. So I wouldn't wait if you find the right house. And I think there's a lot of sellers that really don't like to be in an uncertain situation. If the house is not selling, they start to get worried. So I recently had a seller that took a contingent offer, and I'm not too excited about those because it does create uncertainty. And so I was trying to protect them in the negotiations. And I asked the buyer's agent, her buyer brought an offer, but it was contingent on their home selling. So I asked the agent, okay, well, where are you going to price that home? Oh, I don't know yet. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? You're asking my seller to take their house effectively off the market in hopes that your home sells, and you don't know where you're going to price it. And so my sellers went along with it. It went under contract. We had to show it in this weird status in our MLS, which absolutely I learned does create demand destruction. Some buyers think it's not available if it's in the status of RGT, which means right of refusal. Now, the agents are supposed to know what that means. They're supposed to understand that it means that the seller took a contract contingent on somebody else's home selling that has not sold yet. So the door is open for those buyers to get the house. But because it's such a unique status to our local MLS, what happens is it shows up on the big box websites, the tech company websites like Zillow and Realtor.com, as if it's not available. So it absolutely creates demand destruction. And even though I have a backup MLS that feeds to them, it didn't matter. The local agents thought it was, they didn't know what it means, which is pathetic. But anyway, so they were late in getting the home on the market. The house finally goes on the market. And I look at the pricing and I'm like, oh my God, that home is at least $160,000 overpriced. There is no way in this world this home is going to sell. And I don't even know if somebody could convince the seller to lower the price that much. It's quite a bit of money. But it wasn't looking good. So they did their inspection. And fortunately, they gave the seller an out there where they asked for a whole bunch of stuff, and there was one point that fell apart, so the deal fell apart. Now they asked to get back into contract, but my advice to the seller was not until they get real on their pricing. If they're currently 160,000 overpriced, it's not going to happen in the next 5 years, that home is going to sell anywhere near that number. So it's not up to me to train somebody else's agent how to price a home. I'm not going to do that. But they should know that all the data is available for us. So it was a good thing, I think, that home is available again. I've seen some other uncertainty happen, like, buyers come along after their inspection. They don't just want a repair to make it work. They want a whole new deck that costs $45,000 or $51,000 to replace parts of a septic system. So I was able to help that seller when that happened, because he wouldn't listen to me. I said, go with this contractor, at least get a bid from this contractor. And when he told me he got a bid for 51,000, I said, you should talk to this guy. And he goes, oh, I didn't know he did that. And sure enough, he did. And he ended up getting a different bid of 28,000. So I saved him, what, $23,000. Also, there's the uncertainty of the buyer financing not going through. There are lenders that will write pre-approval letters that haven't finished the full vetting process, and they don't really know for sure if the buyer can get a loan. Or maybe the buyer derails the process in the middle. They go buy a new car or something stupid like that during the home buying process, and they can't get a loan. So it causes deals to fall apart. All those things create uncertainty. I remember talking to this Marine. He was so cool. He's a retired Marine infantry guy, so very short and to the point. And I was telling him, hey, look, we got several offers. Isn't this fun? And he goes, no, I told you to get me the most money. How are you going to do that? So I'm like, all right. So I figured it out. I was able to get the most money for him. And I explained to him, I said, this offer is higher, but we have to be able to prove the value with similar sales because of the loan that they're getting. It would have an outside third party would have to agree that the home is worth what they offered, which is way above similar sales. And he looked at me and he goes, seems like this process, you go under contract and you're just kind of wallowing around the mud until the finish line, then you know for sure it's going to go through. And I said, that's exactly what happens. And he goes, okay, I'll take the cash buyer. So, it's that certainty process. It's having where you're thinking, okay, my house is under contract. Woohoo, I can pack and I can get ready to go. And at the end of the day, it could still blow up. So people don't like that, especially when they're planning on a big project like moving. It's no small thing. They're packing up their house. They're getting ready to go. They don't want to have to show their house again if the deal falls apart, right? So if you accept a cash offer, in most cases, there are no repairs required. They may take something off the price for what they think needs to be fixed, but they're not asking the seller to fix it. Because it's cash, there's no appraisal. You're going to close exactly when they say you're going to close, and you can move on your schedule. So it's definitely a benefit. Now, home sellers could still go out there and explore the market and see if they can't get a live in the home buyer to pay a little bit more, because sometimes the cash buyers will come in slightly less than market value. Some are high, some are low, but it just depends. So a lot of people will give it a shot, and that's fine. They can still go back and investigate the cash offers, right? And I think it's definitely a good option for home sellers to be able to have that kind of as their backup plan in their back pocket in case the whole normal transaction process falls apart. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyer's team and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about, why a home seller should consider a cash offer on their home. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a few other things that might make them consider it. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and you can reach her at 719-301-3900, talking with Barb about what makes a cash offer better on a home for sellers.
Well, Richard, most sellers automatically assume that these offers are coming in at half of what the home is worth. And actually, that's not always the case. Sometimes they can actually get pretty darn close to full market value with some of these cash investors if they have some equity in the home. It just depends on which offer they take. But the best part of this is they have choices, right? They don't have to solely rely on going on the market and waiting for somebody to come along and fall in love and take them through the painful process of inspection, appraisal, and finally getting a loan approved and getting it closed. So it gives them options. It gives them backup options even. And most real estate agents don't offer that. So some cash buyers come in with a pretty decent offer, some do not, but you don't have to accept any of it. And what we can do with it is actually leverage those cash offers against a live in the home buyer that comes along and says, hey, my buyer wants to bring an offer. Do you have any other offers? And the answer would be, yes, we do. Bring your best and highest. And so that brings the best out of the buyers that really, really want the home. And so that's kind of what we have to offer. And it's different than what most real estate companies offer, solely because we're trying to help people get to the finish line. We don't want to list homes for 6 months. We want them to sell. And that's what the home sellers want too. So that's the number one thing that most home sellers want to know is, what will my home sell for? It's the number one question I get all the time, every single day. And we can help them with that, but we have to see the home and show them their options. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, you and your team are the only company that I would recommend out there if people are thinking of selling their homes and downsizing to a smaller home. To reach Barb and her team, call 719-301-3900. Barb, favorite time of the show, time for some hot new listings. What do you have this week?
Well, actually, the one that's probably red hot right now that I have going on the market this week is priced below market. It's got some things that are new, like fresh carpet and updated bathrooms. It's definitely priced well below market. It's over in the Claremont Ranch neighborhood. So if you want to find out about it, go to barbhasthebuyers.com. It's going to have very limited showings, and somebody's going to get a good deal. The only thing wrong with it is you need paint. Somebody needs to be a good painter on the inside of the house. We also have a beautiful 2-story home with a finished basement over off of on Crandall Drive in Fountain Valley Ranch. That home is priced at $439,000. We have a home that needs a little love out on acreage on Alta Plaza in the low 6s. A beautiful home in the mid 8s on Chalet with an RV garage and treed lot. And we also have another one coming up in on Sunbird with spectacular views. This thing has 5-car attached garage and amazing views all around the house, plus a whole bunch of lots that might be a good choice for you. So if you are thinking of making a move and you want to find out about all of our coming soon hot new listings, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, just call Barb at 719-301-3900, or of course, visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Great information this week, up to date, timely, and we'll look forward to talking with you next weekend, Barb.